iPhone 16 drops 35% in India while iPhone 17 is already 25% cheaper than launch. In March 2024, Apple made an unprecedented move, announcing the flagship iPhone 16 with a starting price of $799 in the US market. However, for Indian consumers, the same cutting-edge model was listed at roughly 49,900 rupees, a staggering 35% discount after factoring in local GST adjustments. This significant price shock immediately garnered global headlines, primarily because Apple, a brand known for its premium positioning, very rarely trims hardware prices so drastically in a single, high-growth market like India. The sheer scale of this reduction raises questions. The real intrigue, therefore, lies not just in the initial discount, but in understanding why a company like Apple would so aggressively undercut its own perceived value. A strategic decision that inadvertently set the stage for a dramatic parallel surge in the demand for refurbished iPhones. Apple's strategic decision to slice the iPhone 16's price by an extraordinary 35% in India was a direct response to a confluence of intense market pressures. Firstly, the company experienced a notable market share dip in 2023, falling to a mere 2.1% of the vast Indian smartphone market, a stark contrast to its global standing. Secondly, Apple faced fierce competition from formidable rivals, most notably Samsung's Galaxy S24 series, which was actively priced around 69,990 rupees and offering comparable premium features. This made Apple's traditionally higher price point a significant barrier. Finally, the Indian government's substantial 18% goods and services tax GST on electronics further inflated the final retail costs for consumers, making iPhones even less accessible. Faced with these challenges, Apple reluctantly slashed its hardware margins, a calculated risk designed to aggressively re-engage the highly price-sensitive Indian consumer base. The hope was that a significantly lower sticker price would decisively revive sales and capture market share well before the anticipated iPhone 17 launch later that very year, effectively broadening its user base. This brings us to a fascinating paradox. If brand new iPhones are already available at an impressive 35% discount, why would the refurbished market explode even faster and with even greater intensity? The answer lies in the further savings and perceived value. Certified refurbishers like Cashify, Amazon Renewed, and other local players are now offering iPhone 16 units, often in like-new condition, complete with robust 6 to 12-month warranties, at an astonishing 40 to 50% below the new retail price. This effectively transforms a barely used or returned device into an irresistible bargain for consumers seeking maximum value. Crucially, these refurbishers don't just find old phones. They skillfully tap into Apple's own extensive trade-in programs, acquiring a steady stream of returned or upgraded devices. These phones, which might otherwise be recycled or disappear from the market, are meticulously reconditioned and fed back into a highly lucrative secondary market, thereby creating a vibrant new profit pipeline for these intermediaries and further extending the life cycle of Apple products at different price points. This aggressive discount cascade creates ripple effects, hurting more than just Apple's immediate hardware division. The impact extends deeply into the Indian retail ecosystem. Local powerhouses such as Reliance Retail, along with various independent third-party distributors, are now experiencing significant margin erosion, losing up to 12% on each iPhone unit sold. This directly affects their profitability and potentially their ability to offer promotional incentives. Furthermore, even Indian assembly plants, particularly those located in manufacturing hubs like Chennai, feel the pinch as government production-linked incentive PLI subsidies, designed to boost local manufacturing, shrink considerably, from an estimated 15,000 rupees to just 9,000 rupees per assembled handset. This reprioritization means that the critical cash flow is being strategically diverted away from the local Indian supply chain and manufacturing sector, instead being redirected towards bolstering Apple's incredibly lucrative services arm. In this new paradigm, every newly activated iPhone, whether discounted or refurbished, becomes less about the physical hardware and more about its potential as a gateway to high-margin digital subscriptions. Ultimately, Apple's seemingly counterintuitive pricing strategy in India isn't about hardware sales in isolation. It's a meticulously calculated, long-term move to aggressively seed and expand its sprawling digital ecosystem. By making the iPhone 16 significantly more accessible with a 35% price reduction, and even preemptively cutting the anticipated iPhone 17's launch price by 25%. Apple is strategically lowering the barrier to entry. The company explicitly anticipates that this expanded affordability will translate directly into a substantially larger user base within India. A bigger user base means more potential subscribers for high-margin services such as iCloud storage, which secures user data, Apple Music, which offers entertainment, Apple TV Plus, for streaming content, and Apple Pay, for frictionless transactions. These services typically boast astounding profit margins that frequently exceed 60%, making them incredibly valuable revenue streams. Through this lens, the Indian market is undergoing a profound transformation, from what was traditionally a challenging, low-margin hardware arena into a burgeoning, highly profitable services hub for the tech giant. This leads us to the strategic climax of Apple's play. The company isn't merely discounting phones to win a few more sales. It's ingeniously engineering a sophisticated, hidden profit engine. The initial allure of cheaper new hardware directly fuels a subsequent surge in the availability and affordability of refurbished units. This circular flow then strategically funnels millions of new and existing users into Apple's lucrative subscription layers. Critically, each refurbished iPhone sale, much like a new one, still counts as an activation that brings a user into the Apple ecosystem, making them a potential subscriber for services. This allows Apple to extract far more recurring revenue from data storage, app purchases, streaming subscriptions, and warranty extensions over the device's lifetime, rather than just the one-time profit from the handset itself. Therefore, when looking at the holistic financial picture, the real, long-term winner of this aggressive pricing strategy is unequivocally Apple's services division, consistently outperforming and overshadowing the traditionally volatile hardware ledger. For the average Indian consumer, the fallout from this strategy is distinctively twofold, presenting both immediate gratification and long-term financial implications. On one hand, the upfront savings of 35% on an iPhone 16 or 25% on an iPhone 17 appear incredibly appealing, offering access to premium technology at an unprecedented price point. However, this initial delight often masks a deeper, recurring cost. The seamless integration of Apple's ecosystem often necessitates expenses like mandatory iCloud storage upgrades once the free tier is insufficient, recurring Apple Music or Apple TV Plus subscriptions for entertainment, and even potential transaction fees or service charges associated with Apple Pay. Cumulatively, these seemingly small, routine payments can stealthily add up to an estimated 12,000 rupees or more annually per user. Therefore, what begins as an attractively cheap iPhone rapidly transforms into a gateway device, locking consumers into a cycle of recurring digital expenses that reshape their monthly and yearly budgets in ways the initial, enticing price tag never truly hinted at. In conclusion, while the iPhone 16's unprecedented 35% discount and the iPhone 17's 25% pre-launch price cut may undeniably feel like a significant victory for savvy bargain hunters in India, the deeper, more strategic narrative reveals Apple's calculated and long-term shift towards prioritizing services revenue over hardware margins. This move is a testament to the company's evolving business model. If Apple continues its aggressive strategy of subsidizing hardware costs as a primary means to rapidly expand its lucrative digital ecosystem within the Indian market, we could foresee a future where consumers face not only even steeper, less negotiable subscription fees across all services but also experience tighter, more restrictive data lock-ins. Therefore, the critical question for the Indian consumer is no longer just how cheap the physical phone itself will become, but rather, what will be the true, enduring cost of becoming fully immersed in Apple's increasingly powerful and pervasive digital ecosystem. What would you rather pay for a brand new iPhone or a certified refurbished one?